Yeah, I mean, I feel like Spielberg is the same way. He also um, got to become so efficient that he makes a lot of movies on the cheap, and that's why he basically can make nonstop movies. But and maybe that's partially what Nolan is going for. Is like he doesn't want to become that director that's always like, oh, I need 200 million for every little project. Like he did say recently that he wants to continue to make big movies because he feels like because he has the platform that he does, he should take advantage of it because
Mhm.
so many people don't have that opportunity. So I might as well make the biggest possible movies that I can, especially because then it lends itself to the big screen and all that. But which I'm fine with. It would be amazing. That's the thing. That's like what's unique about Nolan. He's like a modern day David Lynn of sort, like, and Spielberg for that matter is but I think some in some way bigger than Spielberg, because he's not as quick, because he's like a writer director, but he makes movies on that scale. It's um it's something that we don't get in Oppenheimer very often. That's why they only gave him 100 million, because it's like for a movie like Oppenheimer, any other director would get like 50 million. Killers of the Flower Moon, that was like because it's Apple and it's a one-off thing, 200 million. That's basically people are doing Scorsese a favor because he's about to die in the next few years. It's like, honoring his legacy. Let him make a couple more movies. Like, we can afford it. Um, but Christopher Nolan, he's it, and also Denis Villeneuve to some degree. Like the fact that like Denis Villeneuve didn't know he would make part two when he made part one of Dune. Like, what are we doing as an industry if we're like, it's like, are we gonna make a half a movie, like a half a book, and that's actually gonna be acceptable? Oh, well, if it doesn't make a lot of money, we're not gonna greenlight the second movie. That's just ridiculous. Like the lack of trust, the lack of and these are like these are not like debut filmmakers. These are the best directors in the world.
Mhm.
It's
Please don't get me started
so
on Dune.
yeah. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of heartache there. Although the second part is getting good reviews. But the problem I have with Dune is that I'm definitely gonna have to rewatch the first one leading into the second one because I just like I don't remember anything from that movie. It's a blur. So
I haven't rewatched it yet. I'm going to this week, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's
yeah.
already been some discussion about Kevin Costner's films based on Horizon. That uh, the first two are like locked in. I wasn't aware that there was going to be a three and four, and the three and four are in question. And apparently, I mean, even before the first one even comes out, they're we might cut it off at the neck uh, in the first two, and apparently Kevin Costner is like spilling a lot of his own money into it to make sure that the entire story gets told. But uh, I mean, yeah, I mean, the moment that Kevin Costner came out saying, I'm going to make a 7-hour Western, I was just like, I'm game.
Yeah, I was gonna bring it up earlier when we talked about intermissions because I saw that the first two parts are gonna be released like 6 months apart or something, which I kind of like that idea. Sort of like a Kill Bill type of thing. I don't know what was the time period between the two parts for Kill Bill, but
This is about 6 months.
yeah, I get that. I also like the 1 year apart that like Lord of the Rings movies were. I don't know if they did
Yeah,
the same thing with the Hobbits. Um,
I think so.
but The Hobbits was ridiculous because that book is not nearly as long. It shouldn't have been three movies. Um, but yeah, that's what I would prefer is like a year apart or something. Like you're gonna do Dune, you can't fit it into like one movie. Make it one production and release the movies 1 year apart. Like that's the way you do it. Like Lord of the Rings did it, or or 6 months apart. Like that's the way to do it. It's because then like it's fresh in the memory. Like the second part is coming, so you don't feel cheated when you come out of the theater and it's like an incomplete story. I think that's the right approach. But That's, what are you gonna do?
I don't think I'm going to be as pissed off or disappointed by anything as this year as I am going to be by Dune 2, just based on what I've read.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should do an episode about it at some point.
Yeah, probably.
One thing that Villeneuve said recently that I felt kind of stupid. I really feel like these people are sometimes like say stupid stuff. As much as I respect them, is like he said the whole thing about like that movies were affected negatively from TV because there's just way too much dialogue in movies. And I was like, come on, can we get over this whole thing that movies are supposed to be silent? Like, it's movies are life. Like, the people talk to each other. I get it that you want movies to be visual, that they shouldn't rely on heavy dialogue constantly, that you should show, not always tell. But people need to talk. Like, it's like we can't go back to silent movies. That is not a realistic depiction of life. And language, and he said like the I only remember movies by their images. Yeah, but there's no words ever that like were memorialized in movies. Like I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse, or an endless amount of quotes like you talking to me. These like epic like language based like tidbits from like movies that are extremely memorable, even if images are also memorable. Can we stop with this idea that like talking is bad? It's like I never understood the whole. It's in film school too. They're like, oh, don't say, just shut the fuck up. If you can write well, dialogue can be amazing. And if you can have good visuals mixed with it, then great. But what's this idea that it's supposed to be silent films?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I think I still have this committed to memory. The last lines of Annie Hall, about there's this old joke. This guy goes into his psychiatrist and he says, "I need help. My brother is crazy. He thinks that he's a chicken." And the psychiatrist asks, "Oh, why don't you have him committed?" And the guy responds, "Well, I need the eggs."
Hmm.
And, and that's how I feel about relationships. They're crazy, they're stupid, they're completely irrational, but most of us go through it because some of us need the eggs.
Yeah. Eggs in a basket.
Right.
Don't keep all your eggs in one basket.
I mean, honestly, in my vocation, I'm entirely in favor of going back to silent movies and making it so I never have to worry about the sound guy ever again. But still, like, I would like to at least have the dialogue dubbed later. I just don't want to have to worry about the sound technician on set.
That's ridiculous.
Of course,
yeah,
it's
we
a
should
joke.
be able to do that.
I know it is. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
and then we took it a bit too far. I was actually gonna bring it up also earlier because I was Zone of Interest. That director, as Jonathan Glazer or something. Um, he um he did that movie. He did the movie with Scarlett Johansson, the Alien movie thing.
Alien movie?
Yeah,
Under the Skin.
Under the Skin, and yeah. So he's like, I feel like he's a bit, and he's British, so that makes sense because like he reminds me of Tom Hooper. And just a very different version of it. Like Tom Hooper is like a thing. That's what people say about Zone of Interest too. Is like or Under the Skin. It's like it's just a bit too much. Like it might not be necessary to go that extreme. And Tom Hooper also had this thing where like he had a couple of good movies in the beginning, and then he's just like, oh, I'm gonna do Les Mis, but it's gonna be all singing all the time. and it's gonna be live, like on set. It's like, I think you've gone too far. I think you
Yeah,
could take 2 steps back and you make a great movie. I think you're
I
just
agree.
trying to be too unique, and there's a limit to uniqueness, you know.
Yeah.
So it seems like some British directors have a little bit of that. But I am intrigued to see the Zone of Interest. That's the next movie we're gonna see. So I'll see if, because it is like a lot of people are kind of torn about that movie. A lot of people feel like it's gimmicky and it's like too extreme to one thing, but at the same time that it's very important and a Holocaust movie and everything. So I'll check it out. But yeah.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think that it's a bad movie. I just think that well, but yeah, I mean, I think you made a good point. And I mean, Under the Skin definitely was, that wasn't a bad movie in its own sense either. But
It was weird. Yeah. You know what I heard about that movie is that apparently the scenes where Scarlett Johansson picks up guys in the pickup truck to
mhm,
take them and essentially abduct them in some sort of way, that they weren't scripted, and they just picked up actual dudes, like they weren't actors. So it's kind of like candid camera almost. They did it. I don't know if like how true that is, but it's like, yeah, if Scarlett Johansson's gonna pull over and say, "Hey, you want to come in?" I think almost every man on earth will go in. So I think that was the point he was trying to make with it, but still, I just yeah.
yeah, Under the Skin was definitely photographed better um than this movie, but uh yeah, I mean, obviously there can be an element, like you were alluding to Tom Hooper, where it's just like I've got an aesthetic and it got me an Oscar or an Oscar nomination, or it got me a lot of money or something like that. So I'm just going to double down all the time on this thing. And uh, I mean, Tom Hooper is kind of like that on acid in terms of doing Les Mis and then following that up with Cats.
Yeah.
Well, he had the Danish girl in the middle, which was like a half a miss, but yes.
Cats never should have happened. I mean, well, I mean, Cats never should have happened as a theatrical production. I mean, fuck the movie. I mean, it was just an awful play to begin with. But I mean, he he really just decided to double down on that, and it was just creepy the entire time. It was just awful. I mean, and also a lot of people who couldn't sing. And I mean, I can't sing. I'm not judging people who can't sing, but nobody's trying to cast me into a movie where I have to sing.
It's funny. People also ask on Google, why is Cats movie so scary?
Uncanny Valley?
Yeah, uncanny valley thing.